Bueno, buenos días, buenas tardes, los que se nos van sumando. Estoy escuchando a la intérprete en el canal de español.
Sí.
Ojo.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon to the people that are connected already.
Buenos días, buenas tardes a todos. Se van conectando. Nos pueden ir contando en el chat desde
You
dónde
can
están
start
conectados.
typing on the chat log
Y
where
también
you are connected
el
from.
nombre de sus
You'll
empresas,
be
los
interested
servicios
to
y
know
productos
also
que
your
ustedes
company's names, the
ofrecen,
products and services that you
para
offer,
conocernos un poquito.
to get to know each other a little bit more.
Bienvenidos a todos. A las
Welcome, everyone.
12:02 arrancamos.
So it's, okay, we're gonna start at 2:02. 12:02.
Chat. Ya buenas a todos. Bueno,
Okay,
12:02 de la tarde.
12:02 in the afternoon.
Ya se nos conectaron todos.
I think everybody's connected already.
Vamos a la sesión.
So we're gonna start with today's sessions in a moment.
Todos y todas, muchas gracias por
Everybody, welcome.
hoy. Remember, we have
Thanks for being here.
translation of the seminar. Click on the world icon here in the Zoom menu to access the English translation. Temos tradução automática ao português. Clicando no ícone do mundinho abaixo, você pode acessar a tradução. Yo soy Camila, trabajo para Conecta
I am Camila. I work for Connect Americas, the platform of the Development Inter-American Bank.
Muy emocionados de tenerlos
We
aquí
are very happy to have you here today
que están
with us.
ya todos.
Okay, people are saying hello already.
Estoy teniendo un problemita técnico.
I'm sorry, I'm having a technical issue here. Okay.
Nuestro propósito dentro de Conecta Américas es
Our objective in Connect Americas is to give you a platform to interconnect
dentro de
and do some networking.
evento de Outsource to LAC.
However, this Outsource to LAC event is the opening to the face-to-face event we will have in Jamaica.
Me van a disculpar que estoy teniendo un problema técnico.
I'm sorry again, I'm having a technical issue.
Un momento, por favor.
It's distracting me and it's making me nervous. Give me a second, please.
Sin solución. Listo. Este evento es nuestra antesala
This
virtual.
event is like the opening to the Outsource to LAC event. Is one of our like main events in which the idea is that customers overseas can offer their services and operations to Latin American companies. And in today's session, we have Mariana Ambrosia and Martín Olivero. They are the founders of Takin, which is an Argentinian company dedicated to the marketing strategy based on data, on science, to connect, understand, communicate, and sell in a very effective way. The idea is to have more corporate relationships, and it's something that can be summarized in telling good stories and do it in the same way. It might seem that long ago we hadn't enjoyed of a good story, but that's far from reality. Stories are the everyday life. We listen to them, we hear them constantly, and we have to be creative, or we consume, we support, we do a lot of things with them. So we are going to understand and learn how to do this in a company. Mariano, Alvaro, and Martina, give the floor to you. Go ahead. Hello, I'm going to share my screen. Thank you, Camila, for your presentation. My name is Mariano. Camila said, I am with Lautaro and Martina. We are in Spain at the moment. Taquion is a company that was born in Argentina 5 years ago, and we are in Spain already. We have been working here for a year. We are taking the first steps. What you see on the background is an old picture. It was taken several months ago, but it represents the way we address things, like with a smile, with good faces. What you see up there is an impression 3D of me. And we are a communication company, and what we do is to work with companies in order to redefine their communications and the way they tell their stories, their value proposals, what they want to represent. We are a company that understands that communication has to be at the service of the business. And to do that, you have to understand the business, the customer, the market. You have to know where you want to generate those businesses. We create or redefine the communication strategy of our customers with value proposals, because we know that to be effective in the communication, we have to understand our audiences. And I think we are very good doing this. Why are we invited to talk about this with you? Because we work with different institutions of different sizes, SMEs till corporate companies, NGOs. The last year, we worked a lot with entrepreneurs. Some companies are going through a phase of change because they are expanding, because they want to have new products or enter new markets. So we know exactly what these companies need to address these change processes. We have experience because we work in different markets, and because we have a clear method to do that, and because we live that in our own lives. Imagine in 5 years, we expanded to Europe and Latin America. So we learned a couple of things about it. In today's webinar, what we are going to tell you, it's this about the importance of communication in the development and growth of entrepreneurship, and why you have to implement it as an asset of the business, not only as some kind of decoration. You will see that at some points of the presentation, we are going to mention some vocabulary. Maybe you are not totally familiar with that, but it's a way to address communication. I hope you find useful this presentation.
Perfecto. Gracias, Mariano.
Okay, thank you, Mariano. Hello.
Bueno, mi nombre es Martina.
My name is Martina.
Vamos a comenzar viendo unos datos.
We are going to start giving you some figures of the startups scenario. I'm going to make an effort to speak clearly and slowly so the interpreters can do a good job. Okay, in any case, you let us know if we're going too fast. Okay, to understand a little bit the startups scenario in Latin America today, we like to work with data in Ageon and understand a little bit the context in order to operate using that information. Here we have 3 important points we have to take into account about the situation of the startups and SMEs in Latin America. We saw an increase of the number of accelerators, startups, co-working areas that give support, resources, funding to all kinds of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. That started happening some years ago and it keeps on happening. Which are the sectors that are more in fashion or where we see the most number of companies developing? Fintechs, while people were introducing themselves, we saw that there's a lot of fintechs, electronic commerce, digital health, online education, especially in the last years, and post-pandemic, precision agriculture. Those are areas that are very interesting for SMEX and Latin America, and especially investors. Those sectors are very interesting for investors. Also started seeing groups of investors in Latin America and internationally that are showing more interest in supporting emerging companies in the region. We have different funds according to different thematics or topics in order to support these startups in Latin America. Okay, so taking that into account, it's very positive, and it has been very positive for the last years. After the pandemic, we started seeing a lot of growth, and we also found more competition. And that is positive because there are many people that are willing to invest and a lot of projects emerging. But it also makes it a little bit more difficult to communicate, to be important, to attract the customers. At the moment, we are working with a lot of startups when and we are helping them to find funding. And also we work with companies that are in older phases, in more advanced phases. So what we found in most of the startups is that they don't pay much attention to communication. We found some companies very focused on their services, very focused on their technology, very focused on their final products, but where they don't pay much attention is on communication, and we think that it is essential for the business, for the profitability and the growth of these projects at a long term. So there's a lot of startups. That was one of our main objectives and or targets, and many companies, it didn't matter if they were just being created in their initial phases or when they wanted to start exporting products and internationalizing. We noticed a lot of problems connecting what they do and showing what they do in all aspects of the companies and businesses. So what we want to tell you today, taking into account that we have been working with these companies for years, and well, we can find some more developed companies than others, but I think the key that we consider essential and very, very important, it doesn't matter what phase your company is in, but in order to increase sales and investment, we think the key is communication, or what we call storytelling, the way we tell our story, the way we tell the story of our company. A very fast introduction. Some of you already heard this word, storytelling. But what storytelling is a tool that is used in order to tell a story and transmit a message to the audience, to the public, to the person we want to tell the story to. Why is this tool useful? It's a tool that works to create a connection, to create a link, not only with possible customers, and here we have the key and something we have to make clear. It's not only useful to look for possible clients or customers, it's a tool that works to connect with potential investors, employees, users, providers. Internally and externally, it's useful to tell what we want to say and to leave it as clear as possible for all those aspects. So what's the objective of this tool? Basically, help the consumers, the potential customers, the employees, providers to understand why they should have some interest in our product or in a service, or why they should be interested in working with our company, or in being a provider for my company or for our companies. Okay, this is for an introduction. The idea is to tell you why the storytelling is important and what the benefits of it are. Three key aspects so that the public understands your product or service much better. This seems something very simple, but it might happen that some of you have like some service like a software or a product that is a little bit complex. And even if we speak within a sector with a group of providers or investors that speak our same language, we always need to to manage to tell the story to someone that is not familiar with that language in a very simple way. And if it can be short, even better. It means that we have understood everything. Why is this tool important? Because we can humanize our brand and we can make it like closer to people. We are a company that sells a product or a service. And in most of the products and services, we choose not only as consumers, but also when we generate alliances, when we look for other companies or providers to relate our brand to. This humanization and closeness is essential for this aspect. And the last one, last but not least, is to define and be different from the competition or the concurrence, I mean. It's not only to tell what we do, but explain what our service has that the others don't have. Or if it has some innovation, some idea, or if it works with social things, something that can be differentiated from the other products. What happens with storytelling? Maybe that when you take some courses, or well, the idea is to create a story, to create a pitch, or a specific campaign. You can say, I'm going to create a campaign because it's useful for our calendar, or, well, different situations, you need the storytelling. But you have to think of the storytelling in a comprehensive way and in all aspects of the brand. And it is there where you can make a difference in your products, and where the communication is so important. What does this mean? Not only in communication that you can have through social media, not only the communication through a sales brochure with possible customers, but it's the comprehensiveness of all the aspects. You can have some marketing emails, a description of who you are, and of your products. All those aspects need to be interconnected. Orally and visually. So this is what we have for you today, and why for us it is so important. Communication is a very important aspect. So now we're gonna see how to do it, what to do in order to put this in practice. And then, of course, we'll leave some space for a Q&A session.
cosa que es un poco manos a la obra.
Okay, here we are going to do something that is like more practical.
El storytelling,
When we start thinking of the storytelling, what we do is we divide the process in 3 steps. The first one is brand identity. The second one is knowledge of the objective of the target audience and content strategy. Okay, you need to know what you're going to offer the audience. And then the public target is there, you know what they want, what they like, and then you create a strategy. We have to start with the brand identity, which is what marks the position we have now in the market. We do it visually and with the speech. The visual part is how people are going to see us. So we think of the name, the logotype, the names, the colors, typography. Those are decisions that are made and that will be with us during the whole development of the brand. So that's why it is important to do it like to be aware of what you are doing. With the speech, the identity, speech identity is the same. Identity, mission, vision, values, they have to do with our product, our brand, the history, the purpose, claim and tone. That's the beginning of everything. In the visual identity, it is good to have a brand and think of a color. So you say, okay, I already have that color, and but you need to think that maybe you might have to update it later, and that updating is easy to communicate to your public. Yeah, I know a company that 2 days ago changed their brand, and yeah, there are some examples that are very good, both for visual identity and speech identity. Okay, you have to know the target public because the amount of information we get is really high. It doesn't matter if they are complex tools or simple tools. We might use different people and tools to do the research because we need to know who we are going to talk to. That will define if we are going to segment our messages more or less, or if we're going to use only one message for everybody, or if we want to make a difference. Then demography, you have to know the public age, gender, geographic location, educational level, civil status, income, etc. Then you have to know what behavior people have online, what platforms they use, what kind of content they consume, how they interact on the social media, and where they look for information. You also have to know about the interests and passions of your public. If they have hobbies, what kind of activities they do in their free time, what their interests and passions are. That's super important too. And then the needs and pains or difficulties. That's also very important when we want to create a storytelling, because that will give clarity to the message we want to transmit. And then content strategy. What, who, and how. You have to define the messages you're going to transmit. That's very important. You have to define the segment and the channels you're going to use. Once you have the message and you know your public and you know what channels they move in, we are going to define how we're going to talk to them. We all know like the social media. We know that each social media has formats that generate less friction and people take them in a natural way. So that's very important for us. And the key is to have a good story. And a good story has to attract people attention. It has to retain, and it has to generate some kind of emotion. And then we have to remember it. When I see some kind of communication, I have to keep some messages in my mind. So those are the three pillars of this construction.
Y aquí algo que hablábamos recién, que es
And something we were mentioning before is the how,
contenido,
the formats.
digital,
Digital content,
todo,
it's applicable to everything. It's very important. That's the way brands communicate with their users. We try to keep this very up to date. We check all the time what the formats for storytelling are, which are the best ones. Here we have a lot of information. Yeah, when we finish the presentation, we are going to send you the slides so that you have all the information. You have different options, but if you use social media, for example, or if you consume different products, probably you see different kinds of content. And it's very interesting to study which the formats are, what the contents that function are, that work. On internet, there's a lot of conversations. There are lots of conversations about this. A person that worked in marketing, a person from Meta, said that it was very important to understand the formats and that it doesn't matter what you sell. If people want to see the landboxing or how do you open a cereal box or anything. Sometimes you need to download an app and, take some steps in order to adequate the content. So you can adapt all these formats to your brand and to your audience. Okay. What we just saw has something very specific, which is this exercise has to be done. For example, if we go to another country, and you have to know what the context is. What works in Spain doesn't work in Argentina or in another country. So it's a process that takes some time because you need to really understand your audience. So you need to identify, you have to talk to the final user or to the investors. So everything is changes. When we transfer this storytelling to the contents, it will change too. So it's a very aware process of how we want to be represented in the others. You will talk to an investor in the same way we talk to the customers, then he is gonna have to make a huge effort to understand because, well, he's not the final user. So I wanted to clarify that. So you have to do this in different ways depending on the public.
Perfecto. Bueno, la verdad, nosotros juntamos algunos ejemplos. Vimos que
Okay, we collected some examples that generated some questions. Somebody asked about the personal brand. And Mariano recommended to do this in different moments and different fields. And if you have your brand linked to a personal brand or to the person who created the company, but it is good to accompany the positioning from the company and from the person. Something that is recommendable also, or to be able to create like some kind of relationship before launching a service in order to create the need and find the community that needs it. So that needs previous work and a lot of understanding our product, our service, and of course, a lot of understanding of our public. We have to understand how people
Entonces, sí, la
want
recomendación
to
es
get that service or that product. So you can work on the personal brand.
a una persona que ya tenga
And you can link it to a person that already has a platform
redes sociales o por ahí
on social media, for example,
siempre
or
beneficia,
with some
obviamente.
channel of communication that is more traditional.
Queríamos mostrarles algunos ejemplos.
So we wanted to show you some
Sé que por una
examples.
cuestión de tiempo
I don't
no vamos
know
a poder ver todos, también
if we're
para
gonna see
hablar un
all of
poco
them because
de un
we don't
ejemplo
have much
práctico,
time,
para también dejar un
but this is
poquito
to
de
show you like more
herramienta y de
practical
contexto.
examples of what we
Algunos
are
ejemplos como
talking
base
about.
también para
These examples are varied
nutrir esta idea de que
in order to
el storytelling
show you that
contar
the
no
storytelling
implica solo por ahí
doesn't imply only
redes sociales, sino que
or doesn't apply only
ver
for
aspectos
social
más.
media. You can
Acá
apply to
fue
more, to
un
broader
ejemplo bastante
aspects.
bueno, fue una acción muy
Here we took
particular,
an
¿no?
example
Fue
that we
al
thought
Banco
was
Galicia,
very good. It's
en donde
the
fue
Galicia
uno
Bank,
de los pilares y de las grandes preocupaciones que
where
tenían
one of the main
comerciantes,
concerns
estafas, y el nivel de estafas que estaban sufriendo sus
were
clientes.
the
Entonces hicieron una
the
acción
robs,
con influencers que son más, por ahí no tienen un tema general, sino que son más
so they don't talk, well, in this case, they don't talk about a specific case.
hicieron
They
una
talk
acción
mainly
en donde
about,
buscaron gente que querían hablar,
yeah,
porque para ellos era importante
targets,
que no era solo que estafaban por ahí a gente grande o a gente que
and
no entendía cómo usar la aplicación,
also to scams. They focused on scams. They were talking about, they were talking to a public of 35 to 45 years old. They created a communication action.
Se va a escuchar el audio, pero igual tienen
Oh,
subtítulo.
okay, you are not going to listen. You have never seen a virtual scam and you think this will never happen to you? Think twice. I put a message on an ad on internet and someone called me. That person asked me for the CVU. They send me the proof of payment and then I was like, okay. I didn't even hesitate if the proof of payment was real. Well, we're going to stop a little bit because if you think that most people that are scammed on internet is older people, no, think twice. They are less than 35 years old or 45 years old. It's very common. Oh. Okay, we have examples of how to make some content effective. So, for example, here campaigns with influencers. They were published by the bank, but also by the influencer, and they have a lot of audience. And they made people aware about a lot of safety measures the bank had. So the objective was reached. They tell a story from A to Z, and they end up with a reminder that the bank has access to certain benefits that help you to not to fall in this kind of scam. Another good example was web pages. I don't know if I will be able to open it. It's in English, but you also have the translation here. This is a brand that innovated in women products for when women have their period. It tells very well the story of the brand and the innovation. They talk about their purpose, the public they are interested in. They have something very, very interesting in their packaging. They talk about the team, how diverse it is. They give a lot of importance to the social impact and everything they do in terms of innovation and what they manage with the social impact on their accounts. So this is another example that is not only on social media, but websites, packaging. The influencers can also take some actions to a specific with specific age ranges. You can do a lot of things with the storytelling.
Otro ejemplo que tenemos.
Es una campaña que hizo IKEA.
We have a campaign, an IKEA campaign. It was very, very well adapted in a campaign that lasts 20 seconds. That is very effective and is great.
Simple y muy efectiva.
Very simple and effective as usual.
A nosotros nos encanta, está buenísima.
Alguien puso un corazón.
Sí, me puso un corazón, es excelente.
It's really, really good.
Un dolor que tienen los que compran este tipo
And
de
it attacks directly some kind of problem that people go through when they buy this kind of product, you know.
Compran un montón de productos que después no se usan
They
tanto,
buy a lot of
bien,
products that they
pero
don't
bueno,
use sometimes as you
es el
think,
segundo
but
mejor
you know, they
para
are
comer, para dormir o para lo que sea.
very proud to be the second to create the second most used tool for
Bueno,
this,
este es un
for
venture
Baby Sweet.
Un venture capital de Brasil.
de Brasil, que
This is from a Box Capital from Brazil. This is very long, but it's a storytelling applied to a manifest, and it's amazing.
de todo lo que es para ellos su historia y su
It
propósito, que
says what their story is and their purpose, and it's really, really great also. We're gonna play a little bit. It lasts a minute.
A história do crescimento econômico infinito, a qualquer custo, encontrou seus limites nos limites do sofrimento humano e do planeta. O chamado hoje para as próximas décadas é o de ir muito além da reforma social, da mitigação dos impactos, do 0 a 0. É o de regenerar.
Bueno, después se lo dejamos para que lo vean. También
Okay,
pueden
we will send you this later so that you can see the whole of it.
proyectos de Brasil, quizás los conocen.
We have a lot of examples of Brazilian companies, maybe you know them. They also have a website where they communicate the social impact they have in their projects. And they also talk about how important the development objectives are. So they tell their story in a very good way, and you can see that in the whole communication they use.
Bueno, esto es una campaña.
This one is a campaign in this case
Bumble es una aplicación
for Bumble. It's a dating app. I don't know, maybe you already know it or you have even used it. This is an app very centered on the women's role and the women's position in these apps. And from the beginning of the app, from the creation of it, it was thought so that the first step is given by women. In this case, it's a campaign that for us is very good, it's very interesting. It talks about a concept they invented, which is the romance gap. They talk about the gap, the gap in salaries, and the gap in access to different things, different services. And they also mention the romance. It's based on data of the app, and it's very interesting because they take all the data and all the information gathered during years to generate a very good communication campaign. So, okay. You have, like, when you see the icon of the web, you can go there and see all the data and all the rest of the information, and pay attention to the way they show the information, because the visual part is very important. There are many numbers, many percentages, but it's very valuable information. And that's also a big change and a value when we tell what we want to tell.
Airbnb que se dedica también a
Okay.
contar lo que hace.
This is another company,
Campaña que hicieron para
Airbnb.
tomar los hosts
This is a company that was made
lo que le da
thinking of the hosts,
sentido Airbnb
and it gives a lot of sense to Airbnb, not to center on themselves, but on the users and the hosts. It's very good,
algo que quizás que se está haciendo mucho y quizás algunos
and it's something that is very common now. Maybe some of your companies do it or have it.
no importa si vendemos
Every time, more and more, it doesn't matter if we sell apps
juntamos
or what we offer.
data y cada vez más
We
información,
gather more data every time, more and more data,
entender qué hacemos con eso. Y
and
podemos pensar
people started understanding well what to do with that.
Airbnb que con su información
Okay, so this is an example of a giant, because Airbnb is a huge company.
podemos
They
pensar
have very good communication.
muchos de
We
acá
can think of this example,
que hace Spotify con su data
or
y
example of Spotify with their data,
viendo
and the
datos y
closing of the years when we all share data and percentages.
qué servicio, qué productos brindemos,
It doesn't matter what product or what service you sell.
online podamos juntar data e información.
The idea is that when you are
Una vuelta
online,
comunicación
we can have
y para
we can use that information in order to
a nuestro
communicate
cliente también es algo que estamos usando mucho
with our customers
que vemos.
in a more effective and interesting way.
Bueno, y acá les queríamos contar algunos
Here,
casos de éxito.
we wanted to tell you some success
La
cases.
palabra a Mariano para que les comente.
I'm going to give the word to Mariana so that he tells you about it.
De, bueno, ¿qué hacemos con los clientes
This
cuando
is a
llegan?
little bit about the methodology,
Cómo,
what we do with the information of our customers, and how we work on the storytelling.
Gracias. Sí, les quería
Thank you.
preguntar
Yeah,
tres ejemplos
we wanted to give you 3 examples
que un poco recorren este camino para que no piensen que solo
of
somos
some companies that have
diferencias de los demás.
gone through this path.
Son tres casos distintos,
We have 3 different cases here, but they are companies,
pequeñas o
Mm,
nuevas y que se encontraban
small companies or new companies that were in the
de cambio
process
que
of
mencioné al principio.
change, as I mentioned
Una
before.
empresa que se
The
llama
first case is a company called
Tecnología de México.
Global Tunes. It's a startup, a technological startup from Mexico.
Sabían lo que eran, sabían lo que representaban.
They knew what they were, they knew what they represented,
El crecimiento en el que se encontraban,
the,
encontraron con la necesidad
the
de generar un
stage of growth they were in, but they needed to find investors, and that need
tener que contar
took them to
propuesta de valor y lo que
having to tell their proposal.
trabajar con ellos
And what we did was to work with them,
en definir eso, en dar
defining that,
en apuntar un poco su identidad visual para que
and we help them with like the visual
y a lo que querían transmitir.
identity so that they could transmit what they wanted to transmit.
Comunicación, con una estrategia de comunicación
We work on communication.
que les sirviera
We gave them some tools that were useful
puntual para
for the company
puntual que era
to reach the specific audience they wanted to reach.
herramientas de comunicación enfocado en salir a buscar
And
inversores. Esto no
they
es
wanted to,
solamente para
they wanted to find investors. That was the main objective. It was a specific work in order to have a better effect when I'm going to tell the mission of my project and what I want to do, what I want to obtain.
y la verdad que fue un proyecto donde recorrimos todo el
And it was a project
compañía, comprender a
that was very interesting. We understood the company, we understood their objective as a customer.
que iba a escuchar esta propuesta y la empresa quería que reaccione de una manera
The company wanted the investor to react
que está muy
very
bueno.
positively, and it was like that.
Proyectos del último año.
Another example
GIFT es el Instituto por el
was
Futuro del
GIFT.
Turismo. Es un
GIFT is the Institute of Culture and Tourism.
hace poco
It's an institute that was recently created.
trabajar
Its objective is to work
con distintos organismos
with different
en
bodies
que cambien el negocio del turismo.
in order to change the tourism business.
De cero, con lo cual
And this challenge
comprender
started from scratch.
la idea de esos clientes que tenían una idea y
We had to understand their idea.
visuales de cero,
We had to create the visual and speech identity,
las empresas que son
understand what the audiences were going to be, the countries
había como muchos
they were interested in.
target a los que hablar
There were a lot of target segments they wanted to work on.
Entonces el desafío era crear algo que
And that was a challenge. We wanted to create something that hooked each one of the targets. And from there, we started that storytelling. You can go and check, visit their website, and we created a strategy that is in development at the moment. Different kinds of content, and we managed to position the company. And the last one, Rosbaco and Partners from Argentina. It's been working, or it's been operating for many years. But even when they made a lot of efforts to differentiate themselves, they sold like bricks, construction elements, houses. So the objective or the challenge was, how do you reach people in a different way, in a more innovative way? People who buy a house doesn't only buy a house, they buy their first house, or they buy something else because they just had a baby, they need something bigger, they buy an asset for investment. So the house is just the means. So we started with them, working with them on the storytelling, but we wanted to understand who their customers were, because each customer has a different objective, because they have different needs. So there was a lot of information to what happens to the customers. So we had to do a lot of research, and with that information, we created a group, and then we started adequating the storytelling. We worked on the visual and speech identity of the brand. We gave different names to different solutions according to the public they were addressed to. And then this all was translated in, okay, a customer you want to have, you have to talk to this customer in a way, show the customer your proposals in their language. So you have to use different tones, different messages according to your customer. We had these three examples. We thought they were very good to show you that we work with different kinds of companies, and that we have to do research about the company, about their audience, about what they want to reach, their objectives, their goals, their needs. So communication is very important. It's not just a matter of communicating for communicating. That's it, Martina.
Bien, antes de cerrar, podemos
Okay, before closing,
las dudas. Queríamos dejarles un documento.
we wanted to leave you a document.
Se los copio en el chat, así tienen todo.
I'm gonna put it in the chat so that you all have access.
Camila lo va a mandar, me parece, ¿no? Sí, Camila está ahí. Ahí está muteada, Cami. Sí.
Camila, your microphone is on mute. Yeah, I'm gonna send it. Okay. There are some people that are part of the session, but they were not registered to the event. So what we created was a document where there's a lot of questions. It's a document that is useful to start creating your storytelling. Either if it's a brand or a personal brand, you have to ask some questions and have answers for them. And that will help you to organize all the information you have in mind and to build your storytelling. Either if it's a global one or something you need to create specific content for digital marketing or something like that. So that was the idea. If it's a brand or a company that has different partners, all the partners should go through the same question list. If it's a company that is developing a personal brand, it will be a good idea that you give that list of questions to people close to you. That will be helpful to collect information and see the perception of others about what you do. Yeah, that's very important. We've had the case with some customers that when they are thinking about who they are, what they sell, what makes us different, they find different visions, and that's very, very important because it's very helpful to create the storytelling. It's beginning, it's a path that has to be joined by different tools. You have to look for information, but it's a first exercise that is very important and interesting to do. You can start doing it on your own in order to start with this storytelling for your companies. I don't know if we have some time. Camila? We have 9 minutes, but I'm sure that people are not going to be upset if we take a little bit more time. We talked a little bit, you talked a little bit about the personal brand, and we have some questions in the chat. Someone is asking if you think Facebook is still a good network to communicate and sell, or if it's obsolete. I think it is. I don't know, we have different opinions, but to me it is. It is not obsolete. When you see the numbers, there's a global survey. No, it's not a survey. It's like a report that talks about the consumption at a world level of social media. And Facebook is still very, very used. It's in the first places. What happens is that our personal perception and our personal use of social network kind of distortions our opinion about the sales channels, but there are lots of brands that keep on looking for advertising on Facebook. We know also some people that from a more organic place and not only using advertising use Facebook. So yeah, I would say that it's still very good. Communicating and selling, they go hand in hand. You cannot communicate without doing all the exercise that we just explained. You need to create content and give it to the users, and then it is there that you have the potential customers.
Para vender un producto, solamente hacer eso, no.
Just spending money like to do advertisements on a product and just forget about that, it's not working. All the examples where companies B2B, a B2C, final consumer. So it would be very interesting if you tell Sigurd asks the case of the companies that are B2B. How would that strategy change? Okay. Yeah. We saw a case, a successful case, which was GIF, is the tourism institute that is focused not on the final consumer of the tourism chain, but on the companies,
hasta guías turísticos,
luxurious hotels to touristic guides, and it is focused on B2B with them. So depending on the field, there's a lot of things that you could do. Use LinkedIn, for example, which is a place to find companies, and also a lot of things that have to do with communication, but that are not very specific. You can use the email marketing, more organic tools that imply research of the marketing communication departments of the companies. You need a story to tell.
La pregunta que hace Diego, que pregunta si la estrategia.
Diego is asking if the strategy is different. No, the strategy is the same. What changes is the tools you use. Without going farther, me as a B2B company, I don't want to talk to my mom. I want to talk to marketing managers of companies in Spain. So I'm not going to add my communication on social media where my mom is, just where that marketing manager is, you know? It's a very simple example I'm giving you. And LinkedIn is very good for that. As Lautaro said, what you have to do is to show the value of your company. Because I get like 300 messages per month of people on LinkedIn that ask me, hey, yeah, you do this, we are interested. And yeah, that's good. But you go to those channels to look for knowledge and see if you can find what you're looking for. So the strategy is the same. It implies to see what we presented, but you have to change the approach and the execution. But something else that we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation is what Mariano said. There's an essential part of being able to tell who you are so that potential customers and providers understand what you do.
Contar una historia.
So they're telling a story.
¿Cómo funciona el storytelling en el área de servicios profesionales?
How does storytelling work in the professional services area? I think it's related to what you just answered. Same if you can apply this for a trips operator, travel operator.
No, de hecho hay muchas operadoras de viaje.
There are lots of travel operators that do this, and the way they tell their stories and their experiences generates a lot of value. There are very good examples of this. Someone asks, we have a market in different languages. We need to have different languages and different accounts and speak different languages? That's a very interesting question. I think I would say it depends, which is the worst answer of all. It depends on the product, it depends on the service, it depends if we have accounts that work already with created communities. Because it's not the same to work with someone that already has a huge channel in Portuguese compared to someone that doesn't have anything. So it depends. You have to create channels. It's more difficult when you are starting. So my recommendation, I don't know if you agree, guys, don't start with too many channels at the same time. Try to focus on, okay, an English channel or Spanish channel, because it's going to be very complicated. If I have some sales in some countries, 70% of my customers speak a language, then I would concentrate, I would focus on making those channels bigger, create communities, generate movement, and then I might think of creating new channels with different languages. I would focus on understanding my customers and understanding also the percentages I have to make decisions.
Bueno, tengo dos preguntas yo personales.
I have two personal questions. The first one, if Lautaro can remind us, at the beginning of the presentation, there was a moment in which you said a good message needs to have this, this, and this, and you have to remember it. Because I don't remember those three things. Yeah, they are here.
Debe llamar la atención, retener, emocionar y recordar.
Okay. Attract people's attention, have a good story, attract people's attention, and remember. Yeah, it's a basic structure you have. In general, it's the format we consume in. Let's talk about content, because all we're talking about has to do with content. The specific content we do is for social
La
media.
capacidad de atención que están teniendo las personas
The
es
capacity of attention people have on social media,
menor o mayor
because, well,
atención
sometimes people say that
general,
young people have less ability
preste poca
to
atención,
pay attention,
digamos.
but it is
Entonces,
useful for
esta
social
habilidad
media to
de agarrar y
to
primero
have
llamar la atención,
less
resaltando, como
attention.
decía Mariano, en principio es diferenciarse,
What Mariano said before is that you have to
detengan
make a
esa
difference, that
y
this
otra vez
content that you
insistir,
create makes
tiene que haber
people
algo de la
look,
historia que me está contando que me retenga.
and the
En eso
story that
es
you're telling has to
el ejemplo
make
de
people
Banco
interested
Galicia,
in it, in hearing more.
es un
The
ejemplo
example of the Galicia Bank
porque
was a
funciona.
good example.
Y
It's
llama la
good
atención
because
primero porque
it attracts people attention.
ves unos títulos bastante
You
grandes
see some
y lo
big
que te
titles,
llama la atención porque
and
nadie
what the
lee
person
eso.
is saying
O sea,
attracts people's
esa
attention, because nobody wants to go through a
para
scam.
convencerte, te empieza a contar una historia que es
So it starts telling a story that says, okay, once I wanted to sell a telephone, a cell phone on a website, and it's something that is very normal. Then it generates some emotion because you know that something happened to the person, something that is not right. And then the third step, to remember. Think, okay, I remember that I saw an ad where of the Bank of Galicia that said that, okay, there are these kind of scams. So it's informative and it's educational. It explains and it educates. So that's a content that is very well structured. So it attracts the attention, people retain, and you remember.
Tendría que pasar en 15 segundos.
And all that has to happen in 15 seconds.
Desafío.
That's the challenge.
Un gran desafío. Y
Sí.
finalmente la otra pregunta que yo tenía,
And
que
the other question I had,
de pronto también la pueden tener,
maybe the others have it too.
hacen un trabajo de
You mentioned that you do like some
inteligencia
intelligence work
si tienen de
all the
pronto
time.
una newsletter o si
Do you have a
tienen
newsletter?
revista,
Do you have a magazine? Or do you have a subscription
para estar informado como
we
de
can have
poder
access to
aplicar
in order to be informed of those things on that intelligence you mentioned and apply it to the business? No, we don't, but it's a good idea. Okay, I just gave you a business idea. We have a lot of ideas. Sometimes we want to execute it or execute them. In Argentina, we have like a monitor, a social monitor that generates valuable information regarding what happens to society. It's easy to do it in Argentina because our company was born there. In other countries, maybe it's not as easy, but I guess you know that Argentina is not a very easy country. So we are always thinking of how to generate other value actions, to generate content in order to have more connections.
Van a
No,
generar mucho valor para muchas personas si lo hacen.
Okay.
Sí, no hay una cuestión así como una suscripción.
We don't have any kind of subscription or anything, but we have some social services or listening. We listen to people, and depending on the service or the final user, we can adapt the case. It can be on blogs, magazines, different places. The idea of the subscription is very, very positive. So maybe in the future.
Todo el amor. Listo,
Después-
muchísimas gracias. Perdón.
Okay.
No, que justo había una pregunta que había dos cosas que vi en las
I
preguntas. Una
saw a question that was about the Latin American countries. We have worked a little bit with Mexico. Mexico is a huge country and also very complex, but we have some experience with them, but more experiences with Colombia and Ecuador. In Spain, it's a little bit different, but we basically work with Argentina, where we were born. So two people were asking about the accompaniment. But yeah, we can answer those questions later. If you want to contact us, feel free to do it. We want to understand what you want and, of course, help you.
Súper, súper Mariano, Lautaro, Martina.
Okay, thank you very much, Lautaro, Mariano, Martina. Thank you very much. Thank you to all people who connected. This is our final session of the week, of the learning week. See you in Jamaica. The ones that will go. I hope you close a lot of businesses. We learned how to tell our stories in a good way and to be able to use them for our sales and our operation. This is the last session, so I wanted to thank our interpreters for their good work. And thank you very much. See you soon. I am sure this is not the last time we are going to see each other. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you very much.